Hey, welcome back to No Hope. I'm Patrick Bradley. I wanted to do a little summary of Breonna Taylor, um, the officer Tatum, Branham Tatum. I don't know if you ever look at the TatumReport.com, but he got some documents from leaked them from the police. I think he's actually had it for a little while too, and this this case, if you've been listening to my podcast, I've said a number of times that some of these shootings are questionable or sort of make the case better or worse, against the police and everything that we've been talking about and reform or whatever. In the Breonna Taylor case, I always mentioned as like, well, that's the slam dunk. And the reasoning I gave was they went to the wrong house and he shot this woman in bed. That's what I thought. And they say, um, people say, when like the bigger the lie, the more people accept it, whatever. It's hard to believe that. I mean, both of those things are absolutely not true, according to these documents. And and you should go look at Brandon Tatum, talk about it. It's interesting too. He's an ex SWAT guy, so he certainly has some perspective on all this stuff that I can't bring you. And I'm largely just gonna go through that report. He didn't really ever go through specific. There's phone calls from prison between Breonna Taylor and Jamarcus Russell, who's the guy, out of this sort of like a drug dealing thing, and I guess he would be the main person that the police were interested in. But there's a number of individuals involved, and they had tons of talking on jail phones. They're just recorded. So I they basically in most of the major news. I mean, I think like Fox News included. Um, I probably got most of this secondhand. I don't even know how much I got straight from even the media. Um, but you know, they they're like say she's an EMT and blah blah blah. She was shot in bed. You know, like they make it as if like she had absolutely no connection. And you'll see that the investigation into her and Jamarcus Glover started in 2016 when they found a dead body in a car that she had rented. Um, let me, and I hope it didn't get messed up. It all of a sudden was like weird out of sync on my computer, like the recording. So hopefully it looks okay. Um, okay, so here's a Tatum report, and what I want to say sort of at the top to make sure, because I know a lot of people don't make it all the way through these videos. So there's two big take home messages to me, from this whole thing is, it was unbelievable how badly, like how much misinformation what has been put out there about all of this. Um, you know, she was standing in the hallway. You see on these phone calls. I mean, she's very involved in the drug dealing. I mean, all like Glover's bank accounts in her name. She, and this is by the people's own words. This isn't like the police are claiming this. These are in calls with the different, I don't, people, suspects, whatever. Um, And then the other thing is, there's all this focus on stuff like no knock warrants and just particularly with this one was the no knock warrant and the various other stuff. They talk about qualified immunity, all these different things. And, I feel most of this video is going to be going through and basically just saying, like, look, as the law is now, I mean, they had a 4-year investigation going, they had a warrant for her, and they at least were back. They definitely knocked on the door again. You have Kenneth Walker, the boyfriend that shot the police, in his own words, in this document says that. Another person here even says that they shot through the door, um, which I actually ran into that in a USA Today article at one point, and I wound up looking at Wikipedia as well. I was sort of looking around. Wikipedia was a little more gray about that, so that seemed that seems like a piece of information you could figure out whether or not the cop was actually shot while he was still outside and got shot through the door, or did they actually bust in the door. Um, and I think you can really get into the details of this and whether the police acted correctly or you know I mean as a libertarian who like I don't necessarily like have this reverence for police in that way. um I mean, if somebody kicks in my door and I shoot at them, I mean, how am I supposed to know it's a cop? It's night. It was like midnight or something. And so you can get into all that stuff, um, but I don't think that anything that is being talked about by in these Antifa BLM protests is really going to make a bit of difference. Honestly, I mean, I don't know. Getting rid of police. I mean, that would certainly change uh, change the equation. But I'm not really sure what that looks like. And but the other, so the first takeaway that I have, and this Tatum report, these documents on there, really just crush the media disinformation. Um, but it's not out there yet because I still see friends. I've seen friends today posting that this woman was shot in her bed. Blah blah blah. All this stuff. But the other takeaway is the sort of libertarian perspective on this. The voluntarist is that the the fix for this is ending the war on drugs, and that's the actual way to fix this. Because now, granted, I mean, there was a dead body in her car, so it's not like that clean. It's not like this is just like purely drugs. I'm not totally sure, but I and it's not clear exactly in these documents, like, excuse me, what was going on. Excuse me. Exactly what happened with that, I don't know. I mean, I wasn't super concerned in that, but obviously, murder is you know, in a voluntary, even in a voluntarist world, that's a problem. But drugs, it's this quote unquote victimless crimes that we have on the books today, and I mean, I'm going to go out on a limb and say if all drugs were legal, that dead body probably isn't even in her car. It just changes everything. And um, I forget who used this analogy, but you know, during Prohibition, there were gangland murders and organized crime, selling alcohol, people killing each other. Um, Now that when alcohol's legal, I mean, can you imagine like the CEO of, you know, Budweiser putting out a hit on the CEO of Anheuser-Busch or something, or like blowing up some of their delivery trucks, or, all this stuff. Not to mention all of the violence that police do to private citizens because of drugs being illegal, right? Like, police never have to even look twice if a Budweiser delivery truck's coming. But if that is a delivery truck filled with marijuana, cocaine or whatever, then they're going to, maybe kill the driver. They're certainly going to try to kidnap him and put him in a cage in their jail. So that is, to me, this Breonna Taylor situation, you know, like I don't need I'm very interested in the lies, in the misinformation of the media, just on its own, right? Like that's bad. And if there was some way that we could get the majority of people to stop trusting what they see on CNN and what they see on Fox News, we'd be a lot better off. Uh, but all that being said, to me, the details of did the cops shoot first, or did this Kenneth Walker guy shoot first, and did they announce themselves, did they not announce themselves, all these different details, it doesn't matter that much because it should be legal to sell drugs. It should be legal to do drugs, to have drugs, to make money off of it, yada, yada, yada. So they would have never, ever been at Breonna Taylor's house in the first place. And, we'd be talking about something else. If you get rid of victimless crimes, now when you think about a no-knock warrant, it might be a bit more compelling. We're just so used to cops harassing people in situations like this, kicking in doors and stuff for drugs, once you get rid of that, you get rid of victimless crimes. Well, now it's like, okay, we've got a warrant to go in this house because like they have surveillance video of them bringing a kid in there against their will. So you're gonna, now the argument of like, oh, the police should knock and announce themselves before they go in. It's tough, right? It's a lot different. But because there's so many bullshit laws that the police can just get a fucking warrant for pretty much anything and go in anybody's house, unannounced. And so I think, I think that's really important. And I saw somebody posting the yesterday or something that one of Black Lives Matter's biggest things is ending the war on drugs. And it's like, I mean, it's definitely not one of their main things because you never hear it. You never hear it chanted. You never hear, everything I see, I'm not saying if I go to some website that's associated with Black Lives Matter, like I wouldn't see something about this. But, my first podcast episode ever, or maybe it was my second, I called it the Big Three, and it was the war on drugs, and the Fed. So, I've been talking about it ever since I've had a public, persona. That sounds annoying. Of any semblance of that at all. The war on drugs has been, top of the list for me. And, I am I am a recovering addict. So, I definitely have a lot of personal experience in that world. It was a long time ago, but, uh, I still work with people that are, getting sober today. And, I just don't, think that all the violence and all that crap that goes along with it, is helping. The threat of jail, I mean, putting an addict in jail, it's just not the way to me. So those are the two big takeaways for me with this case. And so the war on drugs and ending that, I've made that point a million times in past podcasts. But the details and this isn't again, right? Like, I don't think that selling drugs should be illegal. I don't think anything Breonna Taylor did, aside from if, granted, right, if she had something to do with this dead body, this, murder victim in her car, okay, well, then, yeah, that's messed up. I mean, it's like the worst, almost the worst thing you can pretty much do. So, anyway, but let's get into this. So, let me see what this looks like on here. It's pretty good. The interface on this is so annoying. I can make it maybe a little bit bigger. Yeah, that works. Okay, and I'm gonna do, because I have some notes I wanted to also keep for myself here. Um, cool. All right. So everything starts on in December of 2016, where they find a homicide victim in a car rented by Breonna Taylor. So here you go. Homicide unit learned that the vehicle in their most recent victim, Fernandez Bowman, was found in was a rental and had been rented by Breonna Taylor. And this address, 3003 Springfield Drive, number 4, is the address that ultimately she was killed at. Um, They make a note here. It's important to note that the homicide. Sorry. Scroll up. Oh, yeah, this interface is maddening. It is important to note that the homicide victim is the brother of Demarius Bowman, which is one of Jamarcus Glover's associates, and has been arrested with Jamarcus Glover numerous times. I think he might even be in some of these phone call transcripts later. So the brother of Bowman is found murdered in a rental car that Breonna Taylor rented. Maybe she, literally just rented it in his name. Like, I'm not saying she was part of like this murder or whatever, um, but that's about as close as you can get to a murder without being part of it. So then we got. Oh, this is 4 and 5. Why is it doing this? Nope. Um. Oh, there we go. It's at least a little bit better. So, page 3. Um, on this page, you can see Jamarcus Glover, Adrian Walker, Rashawn Lee, and some others. They get arrested after the warrants were issued, and they seize here some guns, drugs, and stuff. So, and let's just look at the dates here. Oh yeah, I mean the first date is December 3rd, 2016. So it was a big old gap. This is January. She bails him out or whatever, and now it jumps all the way up here. I don't really know what's up, but they take all the way up here and they do another arrest. They don't really say what leads to this arrest. But these documents, I think, are, I'm not sure if this was presented to the grand jury or part of it. Um, but yeah. Anyway, so then they have a pole camera installed outside of this trap house. So Elliott Ave is the trap house, and they see they note several times Breonna Taylor's car is there with and with Jamarcus Glover or whatever. Uh, so this is the beginning of these phone call transcripts, and these like pretty much are just. I mean, it's obviously just like a slam dunk. Like I'm not saying this is enough to convict somebody, but it's certainly enough to debunk this idea that she was just a innocent EMT that happened to live near an apartment that there was a warrant. In fact, no, the warrant had her name on it. So this is Glover calls Breonna Taylor. Call Doug. Doug is a nickname for Adrian Walker on Facebook and see where fuck Doug at. He's got my fucking money riding around in my motherfucking car, and he ain't even where he's supposed to be at. So then later, he calls her again, and she says that he said he's already back at the trap. So I mean, she's obviously this is, and this right now. I mean, this could be further. This could have been evidence, that they used to get the warrant because I mean she's talking on the phone. So it's weird that they would talk this stuff on the jail phone, but where it can be recorded. But anyway, so she's tracking down, I guess, like his dealers and stuff like that, and trying to communicate to him where they are, and I mean that's some pretty heavy involvement. I mean, ask yourself. I can say this since I stopped selling drugs and being involved with any of that stuff. Like I've certainly never been this close. I've never like been communicating with somebody that was sitting in jail because of some drug charges and helping them locate somebody else that they work with selling drugs and find out where they are. And I mean, it gets almost like over the top as I was sort of going through this and noting everything. I mean, it's like over the top how much stuff is in here that connects Breonna Taylor. And again, just to be on the just be real, like I'm not like casting some judgment on her. Oh, let's get a little more zoomed in here. I'm not, I'm not judging her for this. Because I don't think this stuff is like bad or should be illegal or whatever. So, but what I am casting judgment on is all the mainstream media for like this is one that I believed it too. And unless people start getting this out, people are just going to still assume that this all makes sense and that even though they know that Walker shot first, they basically think that they didn't even have a warrant for that house. They just basically kicked in a random door, and that's what happens when you kick in a random door. So, that's the point here. This is really like me making my case against the mainstream media, not against Breonna Taylor. Like, you know, I know know a lot of people that sell drugs and stuff and have sold drugs in the past, and I have. It's not a thing that like I'm going to judge somebody on. I don't choose to do it now, but it doesn't. I don't think it makes you like a bad person or whatever. So let's jump now. The page. I wanted to try to make this somewhat more rapid than a lot of the stuff I do. There's just a note here that they call Breonna Taylor's phone in 2 days. The January 1st through 3rd, 2020 was called 48 times from jail. On 2 days, 48 calls. So now this section, they install a tracking device on Glover's car. I don't know if they ever really established who owns this one, but this is one that Jamarcus Glover was driving a lot, and this red Charger. And during the time they were tracking it, it went. They tracked it 6 times to her house, and this might be on the next page though. Yeah, they said it went to her house. Oh, actually, that was on this last page. So these are all the dates went to her house, and and that was in 18 days. Another time, and just the right page again. I was just like, why is it so hard for me to bring up this page number thing when I want it? Yes. So they observe him short stays at. No, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. So he pulls up. So 3003 Springfield is Taylor's house. So they observe him going to the park in the apartment, coming out with a package, and then driving straight to their another trap house, which is on Muhammad Ali Boulevard. So you got Muhammad Ali and Elliott are trap houses, and then Springfield Drive is Breonna Taylor's house. So again, that's like there was some question too about the warrant and the post office denying that they found anything suspicious, whatever. But as you start to see like there's a lot of other evidence around tying her to these, like this dude's already been busted with drugs and guns, and now they're starting they're starting to spread it out a little bit. Um, and so she got sort of ensnared in all this. Okay. This is just some pictures. Like they actually like have pictures in the document and stuff. Um, this is February 13th, and it's funny because so Glover has a child with this other woman who there's a lot of phone calls in jail later with her. And she actually refers to this night, but I guess this is like around Valentine's Day. But they see her pull up, or he pulls up driving her black Charger, but then she gets out of the car and is like looking around. So she's like seen there. And also, like, look at the date. So this is February 13th and she gets killed on March 13th. So it's not like this is some. Oh, another thing too is like, oh, Jamarcus Glover, he's the guy, he's a drug dealer, and it's like an old, an ex boyfriend. They kind of make it sound like it's in the past. I mean, this is literally a month before, she dies. This is the last month of her life, and you'll see later that Jamarcus Glover says they texted on the day she died. So, I mean, she was involved with him. I don't mean romantically. I don't, whatever. I don't care about that. And but in this capacity, up until the day she died, so it's not like some old thing, which again they make it out, which is funny too, right? Like, why if they were just straight up at the wrong house, then what would even be the point of connecting? Like, that would have just been like some big coincidence that the other warrants, and it was all something connected to her ex-boyfriend, and then they just accidentally happened to go into her house. It's kind of it's silly. But again, like I never thought. Well, I don't know that I really. Yeah, I guess I just never really thought about it. I was just like, yeah, it's bad. This was the really bad one. So let's see. And the police also note here, it is important to note that the detectives observed on this camera this Breonna Taylor's Charger pull up in front of Elliott Avenue numerous times at various hours of the day, night. See attached photo. So I guess this is a nighttime one. Another just connection with them when Glover's Charger gets towed. he gives the police Breonna Taylor's number to call and um, her address, which they also they're like get pull his bank records, and that's also the address he uses. So he just like uses that address 3003 Springfield for everything and gives her phone number for stuff. So I mean, extremely tied in together, which you'll see too in the calls in their own words, you know. Um, so March 13th, this is the execution of all the warrants where they go to the Elliott Ave trap house, and that's where they arrest Jamarcus Glover again. They also Jamarcus Glover, Demarius Bowman, Rayshawn Lee, and Alicia Jones. I'm not sure exactly if they were all arrested. I do want to see. Let me see. So, what was this name? Demarius Bowman. So there it is. That's the guy, Demarius Bowman. His brother was the one found murdered in the car that Breonna Taylor had rented in 2016. So there's, there's that connection. So March 13th, warrants executed and Breonna Taylor's killed. Let's see where we're at here. So now there's a mixture of things. There's a couple of there's some things that are interesting because they are just sort of more ties or more details into the connections and relationship between Glover and Breonna Taylor. But then there's a lot of talking about the shooting and what actually went down. So there's some question, I think, out there as to, the whole no knock thing. So Glover says, and by the way, this is Kay Bradley. I want to say Keisha. I forget. That's Glover and Bradley have a child together. So he, so she's asking if she talks because Bradley, or I'm sorry, Kenneth Walker is also in jail with all these guys now. Okay, did you talk? Or is he still in some defensive shit? He said they were beating on the door. So there's absolutely, I mean, Kenneth Walker, unless this is some weird complex ruse where Glover knows he's being recorded and is trying to set this guy up, there's at least no doubt that the police are knocking on the door, right? Like, I think it's fair, and you'll see this is referred to a number of times later. So, Brandon Tatum, Officer Tatum, makes the point, which is pretty fair. He's saying, look, we're either not knocking or we're going to knock and announce. He's like, why would we, why would the police alert you that they're there, but then not announce, who they are to cause all this confusion? So he was saying it from his point of view, it seems pretty unlikely that the police did not announce their presence. And almost everybody that I've talked to about this one part, because in every post I see online, people, at least the people that I see responding and the people in real life, people are like, oh, cops lying, like how can you possibly believe him? Cops say whatever. Which is like, sure, right? I mean, they're gonna cover their ass. But like, and that's great because don't take them at their word. But why does it stop there? Like, why are you so certain that these cops are lying, but like Biden and Trump are telling you the truth? Like, whomever you back, right? Whichever side you believe, you just like think that they just aren't lying. It's like, no, the same reason let the police and all this shit is going down and they're able to kill people and then get away with it is because they're on the inside. They're part of the state. They're part of the state power, the state apparatus. And so is Biden, and so is Trump, and all these people. And so, like, they don't have to play by the rules. Um, so I don't know. I hadn't really thought about it like that before, but it's really frustrating. I mean, it's great, right? Like, sure, don't take the police at their word. 100%, right? But, here you go. You got, you at least got um, the knocking certainly verified. Uh, and then Bradley actually says to Glover, yeah, so I would shoot too. I got a gun under my bed. If someone came to my house at 12, I'd shoot too. I got to protect my kids. And that, absolutely, I get that, and that's what I'm saying. Like, that is when you have victimless crimes, you get into it gets super murky because now it's like, man, these people didn't even do, it's like selling drugs, which should be illegal, and you're kicking in their door, and people should defend themselves. Now, if this person, was a murderer, or like had a, whatever, I don't know. I mean, even stealing, like property or whatever. I mean, it's a little bit more reasonable, I think, that, you're kicking in their door. But anyway, that's something we've talked about in the past, and I think we could do in another episode. What does policing look like in a voluntarist society, or what might it look like? Because we certainly don't have one. So, but here we go. So we established they're beating on the door. So then he says, and this is something. So Jamarcus Glover, you'll see over and over, is like super pissed off. He's super sounds very like super sad, and he says Kenneth just got her killed. He's sitting in this jail like it's all good, like he's straight, like it ain't his fault. Yeah, he shoots the police, they shoot back. So yeah, he's talking to another friend of his. It could be this guy Dominique Crenshaw, um, sitting in jail like it's all good, like he's straight, like it isn't his fault. So he's the one shooting the gun. Glover then says, yeah, he shoots the police, they shoot back, Bree's in the hallway, and she gets killed. So now you got it. Again, Jamarcus Glover talking about she's in the hallway, she's not in bed, in bed asleep. Let's say there's a lot of stuff in here, and definitely check it out if you're interested. But I think what I'm showing you are really I'm going into pretty solid detail here about this. So Kira Bradley, that's the mother. So Glover calls possibly somebody named Portia Moore, and he said, so Kenneth Walker said, the motherfuckers, meaning the police, knocked on the door, but he didn't know who it was. They asked who it is, but nobody said nothing. He said they kicked in the door, and he balked on them. He said they started shooting back, and Bree was in the hallway, and she caught bullets. Scott, which is an attorney, knows Bree. He knew her. He's been dealing with me and Bree the whole time. I've been going through this shit. Yeah. So they have an attorney together as well. I actually missed that. There's another thing. Where's my money at? Bree had like $8,000. Bree had $8,000 of your money? Yeah. And then tell, because Bree got down like 15,000. She had 8,000 I gave her the other day, and I picked up another 6. So, I mean, they're straight up like she's holding their money, just again, more involvement. And again, just establishing that this warrant isn't just some wild ass thing. I mean, honestly, nobody in the mainstream media is even opposed to the war on drugs. So like, and this shit should be like, oh yeah, shit, as far as CNN's, concerned, they deserve it because, they're drug dealers, right? Fox News for sure. It's really only libertarians that are like, we can we can see this and we can get like, okay, I mean, by the law, yeah, this seems like a reasonable, you know um person to have a warrant for. It's just that selling drugs shouldn't be illegal, and then we're all good. So he's still talking to Keisha, or Kira, I'm sorry. That is what you gotta understand. Don't take it wrong, but Bree been handling all my money, and she's been handling my money. She's been handling shit from me, and uh, cause it ain't just me. I don't know if that means also like she's handling it for other people too. Something about where the money is. So there's some back and forth he has with Kira through these conversations. We on 17. Oh, no, I went. So problem. I can walk in that house, meaning Taylor's house, and go directly to wherever it is, no problem. So he, establishes that he can do whatever he wants. Kira calls Breonna Taylor a bitch. But she had been like posting videos of them kissing or something. So again, even like the non-romantic part is maybe somewhat in question. So now we jump over to page 22. What do we see? There's a lot of discussion too about like how they figured this out. So it's interesting. In the beginning, they were like, "Yo, they're saying they had a warrant for Brianna's house. Like that doesn't even make sense." And they're like very amazed that they figured that the police like figured this out or whatever. But then it's like, but they knew they had cameras and stuff, so none of that really made sense to me. Um, So what do we have? It was there. It was there. It didn't do nothing. No, that's a problem. Kenneth said that none of that goes on. Said so I thought they found some money over there. So this is what you're talking about, right? They're looking. There's supposed to be money over there. Or something. It was there. It was there. It was there. Glover says. So this is like his money. They didn't do nothing though. That's the problem. Kenneth said ain't none of that go on. So they didn't take none of the money. Kenneth said that none of that go on. He said homicide comes straight on the scene and they went to packaging Bree and they left. So, and this is another point they make is they say they didn't find anything at Breonna Taylor's house. So they had a warrant. So again, right? If this was the wrong fucking house to begin with, why would they find anything? Like, you know, they they were in the wrong house. So it's again like the whole media story is BS. And when you lie, that's generally what happens, right? There's always too many strands to keep going. And you find stuff like this, it just doesn't make any sense. Like, well, why would you even care whether they found something or not? They literally went in the wrong house, but they didn't. And Brandon Tatum points, he makes this point too in one of his videos that he says they didn't execute the search warrant. Once it became a homicide or whatever, shootout, officer shot, then ballistics came on the scene and that became the focus of everything. So that's all that is. And Jamarcus Glover seems to corroborate, Tatum's story. And so he's pretty confident his money is still there. Um, and then he said they didn't announce themselves or something. He's saying there wasn't. Glover says He's saying they wasn't. He's saying they were just beaten so hard. Again, I mean, this level of detail, I'm not sure. She was in the hallway in. That's just so sad, bro. And he says, "You think I ain't hurt? You know I don't give a fuck about nothing but them, nothing but Bree, nothing but Rika, which is some other chick, nothing but some inaudible name. Let's hopefully it's his kid, or Kira or something. Well, he only cares about his kid or his kid's mom because there's only one left. Them, my only three, unless Rika is. I'm almost positive that's another girl that's in here. I don't do shit for nobody else. Anyway, just showing a little bit more. My man Jamarcus Glover is pretty upset about all this. All right. So it zooms in too much when I do it like that. But so this page, he says something about, yeah, we had a text that day though, big dog. That's the thing. We text that day. On my life, she texted me and asked me when this stuff is coming in for my car. So that something's coming in doesn't necessarily say drugs or whatever. I'm sending everything to her. I think at some point they even mention a hoodie. So we're on good terms where she makes sure she gets her shit. She starts fucking Kenneth, so I'm playing the player. She's gonna get tired of this shit because she always do. I let her do her thing. I can show my phone, but I haven't been talking to her at all. But she texted yesterday out of the blue when this stuff coming in. I was like, I don't know. I'm gonna let you know, but they didn't took the money. I sent the tracking information to her. Then she told me I had a hoodie and some shit come in. She told me the shit come in on everything. And he says, if I would have been at that house, Bree would be alive, bro. I don't shoot at no police. Yeah, you had Bree's car on Valentine's Day where we weren't together. You don't care about nothing but the money. So there's that. Let's get to next page. Kenneth Walker. This is the guy that actually shot at the police. They was beating at the door, and she was like, "Who is it?" And they ain't saying nothing. Your name wasn't on the search warrant or nothing. Look, dude spot, chop. That's his nickname, Jamarcus Glover. It got hit at the same spot, same time. She's fucking with that fella. That's crazy. And you, the innocent bystander, and all this shit. I called it out, bro. I called that shit out. I did too, but I was already knowing all that though. So again, now you've got Walker saying they were beating on the door. So at this point, the only thing in question is whether they said they were the police. And again, not, I don't know, it seems odd, but I mean, if he's just talking to a friend, it makes sense that they would be, and Tatum said, Brandon Tatum actually even went as far as to say, even if they did announce themselves as police, he's like, I still get it because what's stopping a regular home invasion person from saying they're police? And there's been cases of that, break-ins and home invasions and stuff. So, I mean, that's the thing, man. Like, I don't know how you do this, like, in a way that that reduces like the danger. Um, I mean, and that's kind of their argument. That's his argument for the no knock warrants is like, look, they didn't knock at Elliott Street, the trap house, and there was a bunch of dudes there with guns and stuff, and they were in there, and they had to drop on them, and so before they could really get ready, they were already arrested. So his point is that the no knock is actually safer because here you knock, and then a shootout happens. So I don't really know. I don't know because, you know, um, there's the other one where they go to the dude's house for like a noise complaint, and it's basically a bullshit noise complaint. This isn't a warrant. This isn't some long time execution, investigation where there's already been multiple arrests. Blah blah blah. This is just like a random noise complaint. Dude comes to the door with a gun, and but you can see that like he's basically sees it's police and goes to put it down and they kill him. So, I mean, I don't, I just don't know. Like, I feel like the police have to figure out some rule of engagement that, like, me as a, private citizen with the right to bear arms in the United States in my own fucking home, I can have a gun at my front door and you don't fucking shoot me. And, like they got to figure that part out to me because there's no way for me to know whether you're a cop or not. Like I got to at least lay his eyes on you. And those are the like, and that's the those are the ones that it's like, all right. I mean, I can also see from the police's point of view that it's freaky to like go to this random person's door and they open and they have a fucking gun. Like I get that too. All I'm saying is nothing's changing on my side of that equation, right? Like never am I not able to open up my front door standing in my house with a fucking gun in my hand. That's just the way it is, you know? Like by the letter of the law. Like I'm not even talking about in my, voluntarious wet dream. I'm talking about right now, like that's how it is. And like you gotta work with that. Like this is America. This is how it is. And it's gonna be like this for a long time. So, you gotta figure that out. You can't be just fucking blasting people because they have a gun in their own house and you heard a noise complaint. Imagine what those people feel like that made that noise complaint. They got that fucking dead body on their fucking soul. And there's the other one I was looking at. I think his name is Chavers. It's fucked. And this isn't even like this is just I'm not even gonna play it. I'm just gonna wrong kid they shot. They shot this kid. I mean, he looks like a kid. Daniel Shaver. He didn't have a gun or nothing. I don't know why they were there actually. But I mean, this kid got fucked. So, I mean, it's like it's one of the worst. It's probably the worst one I've seen now. Cause the guy at the door, it's like he had a gun in his hand, so that's gotta like at least change it. This is like this kid is like they're like put your hands up, and then they say like okay now like, and this guy's yelling at him just all these like commands and stuff, and he's like, if you don't fucking do this exactly as I say, like we're gonna fucking shoot you, blah blah blah. And it's this kid, he's like kneeled down with his on his knees, with his legs crossed behind his head. He's trying to put his hands up, and now they're saying like, now crawl to us or whatever, like, and then I mean the kid is literally like crying. He's like freaking out, and he puts his hands on the ground and he starts moving, and he's like, I didn't tell you to uncross your legs or something. And he's like, I'm gonna fucking show you. If you do one more thing, I'm gonna shoot. Whatever. And and then like I don't even know, man. It's like don't do. The kid like moves wrong, and he just fucking smokes him. Shoots him, a bunch of times. Kid's dead after all that. Just terrified, and then he's killed, and then they go right past him to like this door to go in a hotel, and they, yeah, apparently like this dude got charged with murder, but got off, and then let me switch these views a little bit, just since I'm just ranting here. So he gets killed, and he gets he gets charged. I'm sorry, what am I talking about? With murder, and he gets off, and that, and then later, apparently, he gets a job with the police again, and then he claims to have PTSD, and then they yeah, here, I can show you this here. This is the body cam video. So this is like, yeah, whatever, no, your hands on your head, anything and that it's like a game of Simon. It's like high stakes Simon Says. Except if you fuck up, you getting fucking blasted. Then he's telling him to like put his hands up, and he's something about don't go to the bag. And again, I don't, what I mean, like his kid's just fucking panicking. Boom, and he's dead. I don't remember. Yeah, you can't even tell. It's just bang. I don't remember what he did. He keeps kind of fumbling with his bag for some reason. I think he's trying to bring his bag with him. And then they killed him. But yeah, he didn't have no he didn't have any fucking weapons on him or whatever. And so anyway, but back to the task at hand. Came straight to the scene, packs her up. Let me see. So he's beating on the door. I ain't saying that. Am I on the right page? Oh. I missed this one thing too. So it's like a couple back here on 22. This is another thing. Adrian, this Walker, he's talking to Glover, and he says, he's in there, he's beaten so loud. She was in the hallway. She's in the hallway. Oh, maybe I did talk about that, but just again, right? Like, so where are we at? So let's get to 27. 27. This is Bowman talking to his mom, which is interesting because she's apparently involved in this. Let's see. Chopper's tore up Annie, crying. Yeah, so she's talking about, I don't know why her mom laughs, but Chopper's torn up Annie, crying. Fuck you mean? That money's in her name, everything's in her name right now. It's over. We're fired up for real. They killed Breonna. So, on the news, it's a Bowman. I guess it's like his brother. It's his surviving brother. They killed Breonna. I'm sick about it. On the news, they said they don't know if Walker shot at the police or, and then Bowman cuts him off and says he shot the police officer. So that's that. And then this is probably the absolute, final sort of nail in the coffin of whether or not Breonna Taylor was actually, you know, involved in this sort of, illegal narcotics enterprise. He says it's got to be, was that Chop's address Breonna's house? Hell no, it's got to be because they were going to Breonna's. The narcotics was going to Breonna's. It's on the news. They were going to Breonna's house to serve somebody. They was doing a search warrant, and they said somebody shot from inside, and they shot back inside. They sent the police to the hospital, and the person they shot inside was killed. Walker let that girl die in her own house. I wonder if it's possible that when he says the narcotics, he's possibly referring to like the, like narcos type of thing, like narcotic, you know, division of the police or something. I don't know. It's a kind of a weird thing to say. It's also a weird thing, for the sort of way these guys talk. To use the term narcotics is kind of a funny term. Anyway, even if we sort of strike that one, because this one's either like the just clearest, where he just says it's because they were going to Breonna's. It's got to be because they were going to Breonna's. Narcotics was going to Breonna's. It's on the news. So, I mean, to me, that it is like the deliveries are going there, and that's where they were going there. But even without that, I think it was. If I had never brought that up, it's still pretty much a total slam dunk. That she, you know, in this universe and a country that we occupy, where selling drugs is illegal, it seems like I'm no, legal expert, but it seems pretty reasonable that there was a warrant to go to her house. And it seems as though she was going to have, if she had not been killed, she, might very well have, had a tough time with this. I'm not sure what real evidence they have or if this stuff counts as real evidence. I don't know. So, moving on. Where are we at? So, on page 32, just one little note here. And this is Ray Sean Lee. So, like I said, now this is driving me crazy. I gotta fix this arm. This is like supposed to be a super nice arm and can't even hold this. Pat it. I mean, whatever. So Ray Sean Lee, remember, like, so there's a lot of different stories here, or a lot of different versions and questions. Did the police announce themselves? Did they knock? Did they not knock? Were they in the house and then they got shot? Were they outside? They got shot. So this USA Today article, I swear to you, had them shot through the door. And I'll try to find it and put it on a link. I wish I could. I don't know. Find. I have to like look through all my history and stuff. Uh. Oh my God! This is Facebook. Why are Facebook links coming up? Man, and Instagram. That's really bad. Google like returns all these Facebook and Instagram results. Like I ain't trying to. Hmm. So this is kind of interesting. So let's see what they actually. Well, all right. We want to finish this. Let's just finish this first. So Rashad Lee says he shot at the goddamn door. He got her killed. So I'm not saying that there isn't some leeway to interpret that, but it sounds like Rayshawn Lee thinks that he literally shot the cop through the door, and this is actually what I read in the USA Today article. And that was the first thing. Honestly, like I had looked at that and that was the first thing that I started questioning. I was like, okay, well, I mean, that's a bit much, right? Like I'm cool with me having a gun in my house, but just like blasting through the door, that's tough. But then so he says this to this Crenshaw person. He shot at the goddamn door. He got her killed. He did it. Oh man, he shot at them people, man. So he shot at them and they killed her. 7 shots. He got her brain on his shirt right now. And they refer to that another time in some other call that he's got like brain matter on his shirt while he's just sitting in jail. Super fucking gross. Um, and this is a this is probably the last sort of big sort of reveal or whatever that can possibly change the whole way this thing looks. Rayshawn Lee, I'm sorry, talking to some unknown female. They killed Jamarcus Glover's girl, Breonna Taylor, last night. They raided her house. Kenneth Walker was over there. He get to shooting, then they get to shooting. He ducks off and go hide. He left her in the hallway by herself to take all them fucking bullets. They hit her 7 times, twice in the head. So that's another thing that Tatum claimed that he had some kind of like inside information about exactly how it went down. Um, and I think he means from, some of the officers or something. But, again, you see corroboration from these jail phone calls that, you know, that indeed this guy did shoot while she was in the hallway. Then he dives into a room after he starts shooting, and she's just left there to catch all the return fire, and she's died. He shot the police. Police shoot back, and I killed, I guess, his girlfriend, Breonna Taylor, whatever. Shot her 7 times. He got brain matter all on his goddamn shirt when he came in here last night. So same. Actually, don't know who this called. This is another Rayshawn Lee to unknown female. So, that's what you got there. Just according to what we're hearing from their own words is he might have Kenneth Walker, the cops obviously banged on the door. According to Rayshawn Lee, he shot through the door, and then they bust down the door. They shoot back, and Kenneth Walker dove into a side bedroom out of harm's way, and Breonna Taylor, takes all the return fire and gets killed. So let's see now. Fact check. Viral meme listing Breonna Taylor truths includes misinformation. Unreal, right? They posted this shit today. So these fucking piece of shit media been spreading this goddamn lie The claim, the truth about Breonna Taylor's background, alleged ties to drug trafficking have not been reported. Several media posts have posted truth about Breonna Taylor, who was shot during blah, blah, blah. A meme posted on July 25th on Breonna Tatum's Instagram account was widely shared across social media. Wow, they're calling out Breonna Tatum after announced to bring charges against one of the officers, but not for the charges directly related to killing her. The meme, which has over 600,000 likes, was posted on Facebook, where it's more than okay. I like how important they find it to fact check this, but not the original shit that they're putting out there about her. I mean, I'm still seeing my friends to this fucking very day, virtue signaling, posting these things about, all she did was just lay in her bed. She wasn't an EMT. She was terminated in 2017. Oh my God. Dude, fuck you. Partly fault. The point is, she wasn't an EMT. So she was an EMT. And again, he goes into all this shit and he says it, and you know what it dates back to? Finding a goddamn dead body in a car she rented. A murder victim. That apparently led to this. Let's just see. The drug dealing stuff. Now we just went through it, so we know that this is true. At least, by this. This is like, how can you go through what we just went through and see this as false? Right. And remember, on January 3rd, following Glover's arrest and trafficking and weapons charges, he called Taylor from jail, asked her to contact blah, 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 one of his co-defendants to get bail money. Taylor responded, according to records reviewed by Courier Journal, that associate was already at the trap, slang for the house. Glover told her to be on standby. Yeah, this is right. So they're literally still posting this. They're like, so they're now holding on to this lie. I mean, this is fucking bananas. I mean, they're like the USA Today is claiming that they shouldn't have had a warrant. I mean, then why the fuck did they have a warrant for arrest? So now you're just saying what they had a fucking warrant just because she was black, or they had some personal vendetta against her? I mean, this is fucking crazy, man. And again, this ain't to bash Breonna Taylor. I think selling drugs should be legal. I think holding money for drug dealers should be legal. They have all pled not guilty. I mean, they've gotten busted with drugs and guns. So, wow, this is wild. I did not even me. I was looking for some other article. This is crazy. So they're fucking doubling down on this. I mean, you've seen everything. I just read everything to you. Do you think she was involved? Pick it. again, like, what is like? It's like they're making. It's almost like they're making. I mean, this feels like super fucking racist, right? It's like they're making fun of just the way that Brandon Tatum talks. Like he's just a black dude, grew up, grew up in the hood or whatever, and he's awesome. You should definitely check him out. I mean, he's not like a libertarian or whatever, but on stuff like this, like, I mean, he's just got just like trying to kind of like get into the sort of video thing and stuff now and just over the last like year or two or however long I've been doing this, trying to correct how I speak. um, he's Yeah, I was just noticing that yesterday, like how good he is. Like he never makes a mistake, and there's live stream. He just it's like perfect. The only thing I was calling him, he kept calling them investigatory documents. I was like, I'm pretty sure that's not a word, but anyway. But otherwise, he's pretty perfect. Um, it's like just enough flavor that it's not boring, but you feel like you're really hearing from somebody that's got some like legitimate knowledge and stuff. Uh right. So they're using Jamarcus Glover's quotes as part of their proof. They had their camera, they seen everything. No illegal activity. A hug is not illegal. She's not bringing me no boxes. She's not bringing nothing. Although he's going into her house and getting boxes. He's giving her tracking information, which they say in the fucking, thing. And then what's the one quote? Um, they were going to Breonna's, and Arconics was going to Breonna's. It's on the news. They were going to Breonna's. I mean, I guess they're keeping that out. The money's in her name. Everything's in her name right now. I mean, all of their money from the drug dealing, like, there's no doubt, right? Like, obviously, yeah, stand trial, whatever. But these fucking dudes, it's a trap house. I mean, like, if you're trying to claim that Glover isn't a drug dealer, I mean, you're fucking batshit crazy. And so now, once you accept that Glover's a drug dealer and everything he's got is in Breonna Taylor's name, that's all drug money. Glover doesn't have, I mean, does he have some other job? Like, where is he bringing in all these fucking thousands of dollars, tens of thousands of dollars, I mean, he's selling crack and fentanyl. Like, he's been arrested multiple times where they see guns and crack and fentanyl and stuff at the trap house. They see him drive to her house, get a package, go to a trap house immediately. I guess drop the package off because they didn't say that exactly, you know. And in their own words, the money's in her name. Everything's in her name right now. They're talking about Breonna Taylor. All this dude's money, all their money. Like, they're not even talking about, and he's saying the money's still there, specifically talking about his money. Like, if you are not selling drugs, why isn't your fucking money like in a bank? Like, I know you don't get good interest rate and stuff, but like, Bank of America is going to steal your fucking money. If you got $15,000, why is it in cash? And why are you leaving it at some other girl's house? It's simple. You're a drug dealer. And that's what happens when you operate a black market business. You can't use the normal financial instruments. You can't just make like a regular bank account. You have to launder the money and blah blah blah. And I know it's all bullshit. I hate it. Shit's bullshit. People should not have to do this. You should just be able to have a regular old store and people come in and, shit, or deliver it, Amazon at like the Silk Road, the dude Ross Ulbricht, whatever, it's fucking jail forever for that shit. Young guy, just made a website that allow people to like connect and sell drugs and stuff. And anyway, Hey, they actually admit something. Again, the whole announcing themselves, right? But they had a no knock warrant, so they could have just went in, by the letter of the law. True. So they at least admit that she was not. Right. So anyway, I mean, like, first of all, okay. So what do we think? Now we just read through everything. We read through everything from Brandon Tatum. First of all, the overarching theme is the truth about Breonna Taylor's background, alleged ties to drug trafficking have not been reported. That is true. Right? So overall, the overall thing is absolutely 100%, right? Because they claim she's an EMT, that they went to the wrong house, she was asleep in her bed, and she had nothing to do with anything, and all that's a fucking lie. Cool. Somehow it always, God bless it. So, she wasn't an EMT. Partially false. She was terminated in 2007. Again, right? Like, it's like they're just getting, of course they will do anything to, write false here, right? That's the whole point of the, if this thing was totally true, they wouldn't write this article, right? They would only want to show that, like, no, 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 she was, um, so city documents show that Taylor called in November and resigned. A termination form also has a checkbox stating "do not rehire," but it does not state a reason why that box was checked. Wade reported. It says EMT's license was never suspended and there's no disciplinary action on file. Local attorneys have clarified that she was working as an ER technician in 2 hospitals at the time of her death, with the aspirations of becoming a nurse. Right. So, well, whatever. I mean, she wasn't an EMT. Right. That's the key thing, right? She wasn't an EMT. And everybody was reporting that she was. She was knee deep in criminal drug dealing activities. I mean, what do you think? We just went through this last fucking hour. She was. And I mean, I guess his ex-boyfriend, who she texted the day she died, like they make it sound like, this is something from there's Jamarcus Glover. I don't think we saw his face. But anyway, yeah, So that's definitely true. And they're saying straight up false. They're saying at a passive relationship, she was not knee deep in drugs. Like, how can you look at all that? All of his money, he's storing by his own fucking words. He had the money stashed in his house, and he said the cops didn't get it because she got fucking killed. That's basically why it was still there. Kenneth Walker told him that they didn't even search. So he knew his money, I think it might have been $8,000 or something, was there. What? Why was it there? I mean, yeah, I don't think that she's in the fucking trap, right? Like actually serving up fiends, but if you're receiving packages of drugs and giving it to the person that takes it there, and then you're holding the money, like, yo, even if you're just laundering money for a drug dealer, you are knee deep in the game. So like you're the stash for the money, you're fucking in. I mean, to say false implies that like she didn't have anything to do with it. Do I feel like maybe he's overstating it a little bit? I don't know. Criminal drug dealing activities. Like he doesn't even say she's like a drug dealer. He says just she's in these activities, which I would say being a person that receives the packages in the mail and holds the fucking significant money, yes, I think knee deep is fair. And to focus on it and to not even admit that there's any connection, And where are they getting all this? Remember, where are they getting all? They're getting it from the fucking documents that Brandon Tatum put out, right? So they're like going to him as a source to debunk his own summary of it. But Jailhouse recordings running drugs for her ex-boyfriend. What? Oh, let's see what the fuck they're talking about. I wanted to end this. This is what they're talking about. Uh, again, right? I don't know. Did they announce? I mean, I think he makes a really strong case, but they certainly knocked. Everybody agrees, right? And on top of it, Kenneth Walker shoots at the door and then dies in the bedroom. And I think they actually mentioned it. So I haven't looked this other thing, but about the door being off the hinges. Right. So it was definitely a warrant for her. She was under surveillance. Sure. I mean, she like 100%, right? Like they're tracking. I mean, they did. I guess they didn't put a tracker on her car, but they are watching her house where he's getting packages. They're watching the trap house where she goes also. I mean, if she's under surveillance as much as anybody else. So that's 100%. What do they say about that? Yeah, I don't know about the running drug. Like this seems like maybe it's just like a weird way to say. I mean, I think it's enough to just say like, look, she was involved. She's holding money, receiving packages. Okay, I don't know, running drugs for her ex-boyfriend. That maybe is just stated a little oddly, but yeah. See, this like right. This is just they don't understand. Like they fucked up reading this even. When the caller asked Glover why they had left the money with Taylor, he said, "Don't take it wrong." And by the caller, he's talking about Kira. He's talking about his fucking, the mother of his child. Don't take it wrong, but Bree had been handling all my money. She'd been handling fucking, uh, well, I don't know. She'd been handling expletive for me. She'd been handling shit for me. And ain't just me. So I don't know, I'm assuming he means it's not only for me. But in a different recorded phone call from jail on March 13th, Demarius Bowman, who was arrested with Glover, who is the brother of the murder victim found in Breonna Taylor's rented car, told his sister that another woman, Alicia Keisha Jones, had been given the group's money. We put all the money on Keisha, said, he said ketchup, I don't think that's right, said Bowman. We dumped everything on her. Jones was holding $3,400 in cash when she was arrested earlier following the search at suspected drug house on Elliott Ave, according to police records. Uh, right. God bless it. So he posted bail. That's fine, right? That's not too damning, right? If your brother, I mean, if your boyfriend's a drug dealer, you're not automatically a drug dealer. Agreed. But this, I mean, like, they, they are like citing this as, oh, they don't even agree. But that's not true. What were they talking about when they said this? They were talking about them literally that night when they came in the fucking when they came to Elliott Street. They all dumped their money on Kesha that night. They're not talking about in general this Keisha chick or whatever, Kesha Jones. That's not what they're saying. You read, I mean, we read it all together right now. You got it. Breonna Taylor was his girl. So, so it was Glover. I mean, that was, oh Christ, that was his girl, man. That's what, I mean, he says it, right? Somebody else says, they talking about the night they came in, they all gave their money to her, $3,400. But we saw there's $8,000 at Breonna Taylor's house. That's still there, according to Kenneth Walker. Probably not now, but the police didn't get it because they didn't search because they were too busy, quote unquote, packaging Bree up. Under surveillance for months. False. The report notes that Taylor's house was under surveillance, but does not find Taylor was running drugs. Right. So, at best, right? I mean, when they're like, when they say false here, I mean, at best, I'm going to give you inconclusive, right? Like, I'm not saying that's enough to fucking convict this girl, but the point is it enough to get the fucking warrant? I mean, that's the question, you know? That's like the only question that matters. Like once you have the warrant, moving on. Now we're dealing with different areas of the law and different problems. But if you want to have a problem with the warrant, then you got to like point that this shit is there's something wrong with this, and I don't think that there is, you know. And then you go to the whole police interaction. It's a whole other thing. But I mean, you can't look at this shit and think they didn't have the you know the warrant. And I mean, I think it's just an extension of the other thing. Like he's just saying she was under surveillance for months. And again, I mean, I don't think that the way he's saying it, I do think that Brandon Tatum somewhat overstates stuff. But to say it's flat out wrong is bullshit. It's lying. I mean, they're just totally lying in this thing. Like it's not false. The previous thing, I mean, it's not, she's obviously involved. Like just in the general idea, is she involved in this? Yes. Now they split it up and Brandon splits up in three things, but just say she was, on these jailhouse recordings implicated in their, sort of drug, whatever, fucking enterprise, right? Boom. That's obviously true. She was under surveillance for months. That's obviously true. I don't know how this isn't at least partially true or, and even the part that you're not sure about, because she's not like caught on camera with drugs, right? But that's the whole point. None of them fucking people are caught on camera with drugs. It's all suspicious activity, and then when they go in, they find the drugs, and then then they use this to say, "Hey, I think I got probable cause there." Taylor was on the warrant, so they did give her that. So, why isn't it partly true? Because you guys are fucking piece of shit liars that are trying to incite a goddamn race war. That's true. Fact check. True. Ugh. What is this? Like, what is over here? There's just like a fucking invisible link. It's driving me insane. You can't see what I'm clicking. I hate that you can't see my mouse. There's just like an invisible link on the side of USA Today that just sends me to USA.com/news. Thanks. It's really helpful. And another thing too, right? Like they you see that like what DeMarcus says when they're interviewed, they take that as the truth. Um, Taylor yelled at the top of his lungs, asked who it was. Walker said in the record, all this stuff. Like they'll take unquestioned the things that back the idea of, hey, let's start this fucking race war, and everything else. I mean, just like the such an absurd level, they'll ignore everything they see, and consider and keep saying it's not true. Jesus, I fucking hate these news websites. They're so shitty. Like so many little, oh my lord, pop ups and whatever. It's like a minefield of fucking shit. So he says they get out of bed and they were going to the door when it comes off its hinges. Walker fires one shot, unable to see who he's shooting at, he told police. So I feel like, with everything that's said now, I think the police break down the door. Like he sees the door get busted in and he shoots at the door. So, like if we want to take him for a second, like in a vacuum, I mean, I like, it seems quite possible that the police announced and he didn't hear. And honestly, like it really doesn't matter if the police announced if he didn't hear, to me. And even if they announced, like Tatum said, maybe he still like thought it was a home invasion or whatever. So like I have trouble like coming down too heavy on him, man. And I know it sounds like he left Breonna Taylor out to dry, hung her out to dry by basically shooting and then diving into a room while she was in the hallway. Yeah, I mean, I feel like, he probably should have grabbed her and pulled her in with him. But as far as, dude, if it's midnight, I hear some banging on the door, and I'm walking towards the door with a gun in my hand, and I see it bust off its hinges. I mean, I don't think it's crazy to put some shots into that door. So, again, like, I think we're just at a weird spot. Like, I don't know what the police are supposed to do. I feel like in a situation like this, I mean, see, this is the thing. It's like what Tatum will say. It's like, well, with drugs and stuff like that, you can't give them a chance to destroy it and blah, 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 and all this stuff. It's like, I don't know about all that. Like, well, I mean, that's the problem with stuff like that. It's like, I don't think that selling drugs should be illegal, so I don't really care if they destroy the drugs. But in most cases, man, I think you just gotta like have the people come out. Like, you can't just like bust in somebody's house. Like that. And but I mean, that's their whole case, right? Like they're trying to bust in the house to find the drugs so then they can really charge them because they don't really have any evidence. So anyway, I think that's way longer than I expected to go through all this. I didn't expect to find this little this little USA Today article. So, I'd say, man, share this stuff around. Tell people, your friends that are super crazy, say her name, social justice warriors. I know it's tough to approach them and talk to them about stuff. I kind of wait until like things just something comes up, and then I start pointing things out. But this is big. This is one that like my libertarian friends, like we all saw, we all kind of thought like, yeah, that was fucked up. So, yeah, Breonna Taylor was definitely involved in this drug dealing and stuff. She wasn't some innocent bystander at the wrong address, EMT asleep in her bed. All that is bullshit. You know what I mean? Fact check USA Today. Fuck them. But the ultimate solution is get rid of all the laws defining victimless crimes because they're not crimes. You gotta aggress against somebody or their property. You gotta threaten them for real. You know, I guess breach of contract. I mean, there's a really limited set of categories of things that really should be crimes. And outside of that, everything else is just bullshit regulation. It's the shit that fuels like the crony capitalism, people in power, getting all this regulation to make it harder, raise the barrier of entry to start a business or whatever, all this bullshit. But you end the war on drugs, and I'm not talking decriminalization because at least in my mind, when you say decriminalization, you're saying it's legal to possess. Like it's got to be legal to sell it. The whole thing. I mean, we got to have like Budweiser of marijuana, Budweiser of like cocaine or whatever. And the thing is, man, I'm telling you, like I bet you crack and heroin just disappear off the map when this stuff's legalized because they're gonna make more way better stuff. Like look at how weed has changed. Since places have started legalizing it, it's like unrecognizable. You know, from back in the day when I was smoking that fucking Mexican brickweed, the we would get kind buds sometimes, but that's nothing like the fucking science weed they got now. So anyway, I mean, if you didn't already know, fucking do not believe what the fuck they come out and tell you on CNN, on MSNBC, on Fox News, and I'm talking Reuters, AP, fuck all that. It's all bullshit. You know, they it's like what's their end goal? I don't know. I don't fucking know. It's just to keep us fighting and not paying attention to them. So that's all I got. I'm gonna do, I think, an episode tomorrow. Well, either tomorrow night or Monday night with Adam. So stay tuned for that as well. Um, and yeah, hope you have a glorious weekend or whatever time of the week it is when you happen to watch this. Peace.